Hello everyone, once again this is Ewan Henry with Tech in My Life. Once again I want to thank you for tuning into my channel where I just discuss tech that I use in and around my house on a day-to-day basis. So for today what I want to talk about is a few components I just picked up, and the goal is to add a little bit of speed to my home network, and we're going to get into those components and the install right after this. Okay, once again, and I'm back. So like I said in the intro, I'm trying to add a little bit of speed to my home network, not so much from my ISP, but my intranet. And to be more specific, the goal is to be able to boost the speed on my Synology NAS. And we're going to do that with some components from one of Synology's competitors, interestingly enough. We're going to use some components from QNAP. What we're going to be doing is going up to 2.5 gigabit. Now, my goal at some point would be to go to 10 gigabits, but that's just a little bit too expensive for me right now. Between the parts that I would possibly need, I don't even think I would be able to achieve those speeds, especially from the NAS. So from the NAS, I'm going to use a USB dongle, and in the computer, I'm going to use a 2.5 gigabit card, and then for my switch, I'm going to use a 2.5 gigabit switch. Literally, I have right behind me here the items. They just came in from Amazon. I get everything from Amazon. So of course, what I'm going to be doing is leaving links to all the components that I purchased from Amazon. And if at any point throughout the course of this video, if anything is unclear, please just be sure to ask questions in the comments and I'll get back to you guys ASAP. Also, if something that I'm doing looks a little out of whack and you guys have more information that can possibly help me make my system more efficient, or if you've done something similar, I'd appreciate any comment or any feedback. Just that community help to help improve my system. And if anything that I do here you find helpful, that's great. And you can show your appreciation by leaving a thumbs up. I'd appreciate that. And while we're at it, if you haven't subscribed and you find stuff here useful or informative, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. So now that that's all out of the way, let's get to these boxes, get them opened up. We'll see what's inside and how we're going to go about installing everything. And then we're going to check some speeds before and after the install. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into these boxes, see what we have here. Like I said, at this point, it looks like, 2.5 gigabit, basically doubling my home network speed. It's achievable. Everything is not super expensive, and I guess 10 gigabit is also achievable, but at quite a significant price. I believe this network card was around 40-50 bucks. This was about 100 bucks. This was about 100 bucks. So for me, one of the things that I'm looking to do is just be able to work from my NAS when I'm editing videos, as opposed to working directly from hard drives on my PC. Just that one of the things I was anticipating Synology doing is creating something like this, where they can open up one of the ports, the USB ports, and I'd be able to plug in a dongle into the USB port and get higher speeds. Unfortunately, so far they haven't gone that way. QNAP has, and there's some videos out there on how you can open up your USB 3 port on the Synology NAS to work with a QNAP USB dongle. So we're going to get into all of that also. I'm not going to dive too deeply into it. I'll try to put out as much information as I can on how I'm going to use the dongle with the Synology NAS, and everything else, like I said, is pretty much plug and play. Okay, one of the first things we got to do is just replace this back plate with the longer back plate. And it's pretty simple. Just remove these two screws here. And just add on take that off. And of course, you're only going to do that depending on the PC that you're putting it into. If your PC requires a shorter piece, then obviously you'll just use the shorter piece. There we go, just that simple, just that quick, maybe a minute or two to just replace the screws. And now we're just going to slide this into my empty PCIe slot. Okay, so directly behind Spider-Man is my PCI slot that I'm going to be putting this into. So I just installed a switch right here, and this is the 2.5 gigabit switch. If you guys are interested in everything else that's going on here, there should be a link right about here somewhere that you should be able to click on, and you can get more information on what I have going on here. The only update I've had since that video is my backup, my UPS power supply backup, and that's it. What I'm adding here today is this switch, this dongle. It's going to go into the back of this. There's a USB 3. There's a USB 3 plug in the back of the Synology NAS I'll be plugging this into. So I have a patch cable going from my edge router switch to my QNAP switch, and of course that's going to be for my my wide area network. Then I will have a Ethernet coming out of, I'll have two Ethernet wires coming out of here. One that's going to be for my PC, and the other is going to be for the Synology NAS. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It should be as simple as plugging out 13 and putting it into whichever, and then running a patch cable from, like I said, my edge router to the QNAP switch. That's pretty much it. Somewhere around here, I'm gonna have to go digging through some boxes to find some patch cables, or I'm gonna have to make some myself. But let's do that. Let's get everything plugged in, and go back upstairs to the PC and get everything sorted out on that end. Okay, so I'm back upstairs, and while the hooking up of the stuff downstairs went relatively simple, basically just hooking up some Ethernet wires to the correct ports from the switch to the switch. From the patch panel to the switch, that was pretty straightforward. Didn't require much. Now upstairs here, the first PCI card that I installed did not work. I installed it, it didn't show up. I went to the Intel website, downloaded the driver pack, and still wouldn't show up. Another Amazon package later, I returned the first one. So this is a replacement. And what I actually did this time was I also got a Sabrent USB dongle, because I tried the QNAP dongle, and the QNAP dongle actually worked on the PC. It showed up. The switch recognized it as 2.5 gigabit. So that's kind of squared away. Now, what I did do, like I said, I actually picked up two items, and I'm probably going to end up returning one. So I got a Sabrent dongle, and I also got a TRENDnet PCI card. So if is installed and it doesn't work, then we're gonna try this here. And if you hear some talking, that's my wife. She's on a phone call, so I'm hoping that sound doesn't come across, but it might. So if you hear a little voice in the background, that's just the wife. Really? A CD? Right off the bat, one of the things I like about this is that this back plate that they installed is a full-size one, not the smaller one. Let's check and see if this card shows up. And yes, here it is. It shows up. So let's plug it in and see what happens here. And there you have it. It's connected. Status. Gig plus 2.5 Gbps. So that's awesome. Now let's try transferring some files and see how that goes. First, let's take a look at what speeds I'm currently getting. So we got a file here. It's around 6.9 gigabytes. Let's see what happens when I try to transfer that file from my computer to the NAS. Now, the speed we're getting here, 100, 107, 108 megabits per second. So we're at gigabit. We're at gigabit speed right now. We don't need to transfer this all the way, but that's where we're currently at. So now let's get this software downloaded and installed on the NAS. After we get that software downloaded and installed on the NAS and get the port opened up, we're going to do another little speed test to see how that goes. Okay, while I'm not sure of the name of the person that did this patch or application or whatever you want to call it, firmware, I'm going to try to give them as much credit as possible. But what we got to do first is for the dongle requires a software patch, and we're going to get that from this guy on GitHub, this person on GitHub. I don't know if it's a guy or a girl or not. So here's the page. I'm guessing that's the person. This also looks like the name of the architecture for the USB dongle, because I believe I see this AQC11 when I go into the properties for the dongle. That being said, so here you have this guy, this person, I keep saying guy, this person that did this patch, because dongles, to use the dongle in this way, it's not natively supported on the Synology NAS. So what we have here is, first there's a list of different NASs that it support, but for a more comprehensive list, if you click right here for models, you can go to this page and go down the page until you see which model you're dealing with, which model you're using, and you need to look at the architecture here. And this one is mine, the DS1019. It is currently using an Apollo Lake architecture. So this other page here is a downloads page, and there's different versions of the patch here. So currently this 1.3.3.0-4 That's if you're using DSM-7. Synology just updated to DSM-7, their final version. But I don't think you need that one if you're on DSM 6.2, which is what I'm on, DSM 6.2. So you need this version here, 1.3.3.0.2. So you download that version, and right here, that's the SPK right here. Now, once you've got it all downloaded, what you're going to have to do is then go to your NAS, log in, go to Package Center. In Package Center, you can go to Manual Install, and then you're going to browse. And wherever you download it to, of course, that's where you'll see it right here, APC 111, and you go to open, and next you just go through the steps to install the patch into your NAS. Once that's all installed, you want to make sure it's running. So right here I have it installed and it's currently running. You can stop it, which I'll explain right now. Sometimes you actually have to stop it because twice since I've installed mine froze up on me. It stopped working, and I'm going to get into the problem. I'm going to get into the solution for that problem right now. So if you're having problems where you're losing connection and the dongle is not staying on continuously, and you have to do power cycles, unplug it, plug it back in, then probably what you're encountering is overheating. And right here, let's see, where is it? Right here. So these two solutions would solve that issue. You could have to disable thermal throttling and enable low power 5G. And I don't have the dongle up here, but if you take the dongle and you plug it into a PC, it'll show up as an Ethernet, as an Ethernet port. And what you can do, let's go through that right now. Go to networks. I'll show you as an example what you can do. Go. Once you pull up your different connections, whether it's Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or whatever, you can see, you'll see the QNAP dongles show up here as an additional Ethernet. Now, for example, this Ethernet right here, if I click on it and I go to properties and I go to configure, inside this configure box, you go to advanced, those two options will show up here. So once you disable thermal throttling and enable low power 5G in here, you can go down the list and find them, disable and enable, and click OK. Then you just unplug it, take it back down to, in my case, I'm telling you what I did. I took it back down to my NAS, plugged it into my NAS, and I haven't had any connection issues since. So far, I'm going on over 48 hours of continuous use without any type of issues. So, like I said, so far, so good. I can't ask for much more. It's a simple, inexpensive solution to double my speed, and I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so now let's try transferring that same file that we used before. That same file, that's 6.9. Let's just round it up to 7 gigabytes and see what type of speed we're gonna get. Boom, and there it is. We started off at 7.5, now we're down to 2.4. So just about 2.5, 2.1 is dropping down a little. But all in all, definitely much faster than Gigabit. Almost exactly twice as fast as what I was getting before, maybe a little faster. Try another one here. Let's find another big one. This one is just a little bigger and about the same size really, but still, I'm pretty excited. I am pretty excited to say the least. That, yeah, starts off pretty fast. 30 seconds to go from originally about a minute and a half to 30 seconds. That's pretty cool. File here. Let's open up DaVinci Resolve. One of my biggest goals with this whole project was to be able to edit directly from my NAS. When I first got the NAS, that was one of my goals, was to be able to dump all of my videos onto the NAS. And at one point I was thinking about 5 gigabit, 10 gigabit, 10 gigabit, like I might have mentioned, for me a little bit too costly to get into that game. But the 5 gigabit, because a lot of the cards basically have a USB 3.0 controller on the inside of it, it was on there typically max out at just 3.5, maybe 4. So they're really not 5 gigabit. And I'm like, you know, 2.5 should be more than enough for me, and it should allow me to edit directly from my NAS. So let's go to media here and find a video on my NAS. Okay. And those, not only are they coming up pretty quick, yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for. This is just my son at the BMX park. But yeah, 59, playing 60 frames a second, silky smooth, not dropping a frame. That's what I was looking for. And that's coming off my NAS. So I'm gonna be able to edit videos straight from my NAS. Who can ask for more? And that's 2.5 gigabits a second. Now, maybe 10 gigabits a second would definitely be great, but I don't think at this point I need that much speed. And again, the cost, it's just cost prohibitive for me at this time. But this is more than enough, and I'm super excited. I'm just blown away. It's a little thing. It wasn't super duper expensive, but for me, it's gonna go a long way. It really has me very excited right now that I can come home, and even the process of getting the videos onto the NAS, that's gonna be quicker. And I still think some of the times I'm gonna work from my NVMe drive when I'm creating videos sometimes, but I think the vast majority of the times this means I can come home, unload my videos directly to my NAS and work from the NAS. Okay, everybody, and there it is. That was just so simple to do. It did take a little longer than I thought because the first PCI card I purchased didn't work, but the second one, it plugged in, it showed up on the computer. I didn't have to download any drivers. I didn't have to do anything, so that was awesome. But again, the cost, I'm gonna add all the items in the description. Cost was relatively inexpensive. If you wanna just boost that productivity, you want that little bit faster speed, and in my case, I'm doubling my speed. Not quite 5 or 10 gigabits per second, but you know, that's for another time. You know, down the road, that there's gonna be plenty of time to upgrade to that. But 2.5 gigabits a second, I'm super excited being able to work directly from my NAS as opposed to transferring files onto a hard drive on my PC, working on them there, and then, you know, transferring them after I'm done to a NAS. This makes life so much more simple by just being able to work directly from my NAS. And like I said, the steps are relatively simple, but If you guys found information here useful, please feel free to subscribe. And if anything I did was a little wacky, a little crazy, or you didn't understand it, please, ask questions, leave questions in the comments section, and I'll do my best to get back as soon as possible. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, take care and be safe. Bye.